Good afternoon. I've got a 1986 Muir Cougar Windlass, and it came with our bayliner. In last boating season, the unit quit working on us. It became intermittent for a couple of anchorages, and then just completely stopped working. So this winter, I tried to do some research and go online to troubleshoot what the problem might be, and looking for some information to repair it. So there was a lot of information online at the Muir Windlass Australia website on how to disassemble the unit. There's a nice diagram with your parts list identifying the parts, but it stops at the housing assembly and the cap scan and everything else. It clearly identifies and shows you how that comes apart in what order. And then there was another website where I found this diagram, but it didn't identify the parts, or at least I couldn't get a big enough shot to identify it. Other than that, I couldn't find any other information on troubleshooting or diagnosing or what to look for or anything concerning the motor. I couldn't find any information on the Muir website from Australia or on YouTube. So I usually don't make videos, so bear with me, and I apologize if this isn't a great video, but I thought it would be helpful if I shared what I've learned and what I've done, so other people with the same type of windlass would have an opportunity to repair theirs. Now, mind you, once I got the motor and gear assembly pulled out, some people told me just to take it to an alternator or starter rebuild center, and that they would be able to rebuild it for me at a cost, of course. And we had two in the city, and I'm just outside of the city of Sudbury, and I contacted them, and they said they would take a look at it for me, but there was no guarantee, and they also told me that they were running with about a 4 to 6 week backlog on repairs. So, being a bit of a handyman and doing a lot of my own vehicle mechanical work, I decided to tackle the job myself. So I contacted IMTRA, and they were able to get me the brush set. Like I said, it's a 1986 Muir Cougar. It's 1,000 watt. It's the model 1200, and I gave them my serial number, and this is the brush kit that they provided for me. There's a good picture of the old brushes that come out of it. Now, a couple people I talked to about electric motors, DC motors, and a couple of videos I watched online for DC motors clearly indicated that one of the main possible causes of a failure could be brusher dust in around the armature and shorting out. So I did a couple electrical tests on the motor before I pulled it apart, and I obviously had a dead short someplace. So I'm showing you here all the tools that I used to take it apart. So the drill and the cleaning brush were for cleaning the slides where the brushes were located. And just to mention, my brushes were seized in place. They weren't moving anymore. Just one, the one you see that I had to take out in pieces on the left there, it was pretty much bonded to the armature. So an obvious dead short. The little pockets where these brushes sit need to be cleaned out. Had to get the corrosion and the dirt and the brusher dust out. So I took a nail file, a cardboard nail file, and I split it down the middle, and that gave me the width I needed to fit into the pockets where the brushes had to slide in and out. You can see here how I laid everything out as I took it apart. That was fairly easy to do. Just followed the diagram and laid the parts out as I took them out. You can see there's a pin. I'm trying to obtain that pin, order that new pin. Haven't had any success yet, but I got a couple of suppliers working on it, IMTRA for one. I might have to get it all the way from Australia. I hope not, because that could delay the windlass being ready for boating season. That's the bottom plate here, and the motor sits in this area right here. And you'll notice that the foam rubber from that is degraded and it literally fell out. I was lucky to find the similar rubber foam at a hardware store, so I have new replacement there. Inside the housing, on the top of the housing, there's a similar bracket or support, and it also needs new foam rubber. Other than that, the housing itself is very uneventful. Nothing really in there, just had to clean it up a bit. Still a little bit more cleaning to do. There's bushings in there which I'm going to remove and clean up and put back in. So I'm getting ready to reassemble, clean all the parts and reassemble everything. So I'm quickly going to show you what I went through with the brushes. So here you can see that the motor has been removed from the housing. You know, I had to clean up that seal a little bit. I don't see any evidence of the gearbox leaking at all. So I'm not going to worry about putting in a seal kit. If it's not broken, I'm not going to fix it. Everything turns smoothly, quietly. Now, on the motor itself, to access the brushes, there's a clamp located at the back. And you have to remove this clamp. And it's just a little machine screw. And then this rubber cover is removed. Once you have that off, obviously that came off a lot dirtier than what it looks like now, is full of corrosion and brusher dust. And that gives you access to the 4 brushes. Now, in speaking to an acquaintance who has done work on DC motors for HVAC equipment, furnaces and whatnot, he cautioned me that these brushes will probably be attached with a brass screw. And that's the screw right there. He cautioned me to make sure I use a little bit of penetrating oil. Just a little, not a lot, because you don't want to get it all over the armature. And he says, let it sit overnight before I tackled those, because those brass screws, he indicated, are very soft, and they're very easy to snap off, especially when they're full of corrosion and partially seized onto the parts. And then he said, then you're dealing with a new nightmare, because now you have to get the remains of that screw out of there, or I guess I should say a threaded machine bolt, and then find a replacement. There you can see the new brush is seated right there. You can see that's the pocket that the brush is seated in. The old brushes were seized in these pockets. There was lots of corrosion. There was lots of brush dust. So I used some brake cleaner and my air hose. So I would spray it and then blow it off right away with the air hose to prevent anything from getting into the motor windings or anything. Probably took me, I'm going to say, between 5 to 6 minutes on each brush to get them out. This is just a spring, a retaining spring. And you just gently pry that up, move it over, pry that up, you move it over to the side, put it down the side here where it's out of the way, and then you have all the room you need to work on this pocket. Or in the case of one of my brushes, to use a very small pair of needle nose pliers and a little pin to break up the old brush to get it out. And then once the new brush will drop in and out and move freely, you're ready to install the new brush. Now, I found the best way to do this was I just securely mounted the motor in my vise. And this way I could easily turn the motor and clamp it a quarter turn and continue to keep it easy to work on. So that's what took the longest part of the job, was cleaning all these brush pockets. I also cleaned the armature, and again using a little bit of brake cleaner, compressed air, and then I also used my power drill with a cleaning brush. I cut the ring off the end, stuck it in the drill, and was able to turn that at slow speed and put it right into the pockets after I went over everything with the nail file. It did a really good job. It also afforded me the opportunity to clean up the armature. And again, I used a little bit of brake cleaner. I would spray it on the armature, and then I would go in quickly with the brush, and I would just brush the armature and then spray it off with an air hose. So after I got all the brushes changed and everything in there cleaned up, Then I gave it another really good spray off inside the motor everywhere with compressed air, and make sure everything was clean. So I'm getting ready for reassembly now. Now another comment I'm going to make on the wiring coming out on the bottom of the motor. Okay, the center one is your ground. There was a little bit of information online about that, but it wasn't clear. So obviously the other two outside leads are your power for forward and reverse, but the center lead is your ground. So as long as you remember that when you're working on it, then you won't get confused. And then I've got some old electrical connections there that I have to repair, make sure they're isolated properly. So now I'm just going to finish cleaning up the housing a little bit, start to put it all back together. And I've already bench tested it. You can see my battery down here, down below. And it works beautiful. And it's quieter than it's ever been. So I guess, not knowing any better, I guess for a few years I was having brush issues. And I didn't know that that wasn't what it was supposed to sound like. Now that I have the new brushes in there, it's amazing how quiet this motor is. So again, just a quick review of the tools I used. You know, there's my daughter's nail file that I split to be able to sand inside the pocket. Phillips screwdriver, needle nose pliers, standard plier, and then I'm going to say a medium coarse wire brush. And of course the gloves, the power drill with the brush. Again, if you need the part number for the brush set, there it is. And then another quick review of all the parts. I had to completely disassemble it to get it out. Notice on the bottom housing here, there was some kind of a rubber gasket, which I'm unable to obtain. So when I put it back together, I'm just going to put a very small strip of silicone in there, just to seal that up. And then of course the hole where the wires goes through here, then when you install it, that gets sealed on the deck of the boat or on your bowsprit. And then the unit will be sealed up again. The mounting rubbers where it bolts through the deck are all in good shape, so I don't have to replace them. And the seals and O-rings here are also all in good shape. No, they're still pliable and soft. So I hope this helps you out. Would have been nice if I would have had this information before I started this project. Would have made the job go a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. But it is what it is. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below if this helps you out, and if you had the same success that I did. I'm anxious to get this back together. It's April up here in Northern Ontario, so about another month before I can get to work on the boat and reinstall this, but I'm really anxious to get it done. So everybody, take care. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye for now.